So, if dinosaurs did crash here, and they did live here at some point in this society, right? Let's say that, you know, some kind of deity, right, could have gotten pissed off at these, dinosaurs. And the reason being that we don't see, like, um, astral, like,
Spirits of dinosaurs and
yes.
fucking alligators and
Yes. Let's say the reason why
velociraptors.
we can't see those is because they're descendants of let's say they're descendants of some kind of evil deity and that they're cursed and they're not allowed to, like, cross the plane of the astral projections.
Well,
Let's say, like, they can't enter the spiritual realm due to they're stuck in, let's say, a form of
Well, I would say I don't think you can.
purgatory.
I don't think you can not be in this astral plane. I think if anything, you just maybe cannot interact with the physical realm at some point.
Yes, or
'Cause
they're
I think-
stuck in, like, a form of
If souls exist, I would figure that souls probably are infinite energy, and we're all probably like
actually can I get a
omnipresent.
menthol?
Yeah, go for it.
Thank you. Oh, shit,
Um,
almost got it.
So, one of the theories I heard about was, all these archaeologists, they keep finding these elongated skulls around the planet.
Yeah.
And they keep trying to figure out where the origins are for them, and they can't figure out where the fuck they came from, and they don't find them that often. They're sporadic. Allegedly, one of the theories I read, and of course there's no fucking proof of this, but it's an interesting theory, was that, there were cave drawings of people riding tyrannosauruses and triceratops, and like cave drawings of ancient people riding dinosaurs, right?
Oh yeah.
The alleged talking point here is, allegedly whenever prehistoric dinosaurs existed, there was also an ancient form of man. Not man that we are today, but like something that we were sideways cousins of, but we did not directly descend from. The idea is it was these elongated skull people, and they were so smart, they realized that the only thing that was stopping them from pretty much running the entire planet and being, this is my planet to do whatever I want with, was dinosaurs. They're fucking humongous. Doesn't matter how smart or how advanced you are. There were so many humongous skyscraping sized dinosaurs back then. Even if you had ancient AK-47s, you could not take out all these dinosaurs.
Oh yeah.
But allegedly, these elongated skull beings were like, allegedly they came out with this ancient nuke. And what we think is an asteroid was actually ancient technology, and they nuked the planet, went underground, and waited for thousands of years to come back out and rule the planet. And allegedly, when they came back out, after all that, someone else dropped us here. Someone drove by the planet and saw an empty planet and was just like, boom, put these people here. And by the time they came out from caves or whatever, we were here. And allegedly, we're not descended from them, but somehow we are still related. Like we're fucking related to a banana or a mouse. And allegedly, ever since then, we've been ruled by them. Some ancient cabal, since we've existed, because they've been more clever than us, and they pretty much, allegedly, they erase all evidence that we can find of them, so that there's no trace of what that is.
Okay. I have a weird theory for you. I don't know if you've already looked into it yourself.
Yeah.
But there's actually this idea that I was looking into on YouTube recently. There is a theory that the Eye of Horus, due to Egyptian mythology, right?
Yep.
And hieroglyphics.
Yeah.
If you compare, it was actually a Joe Rogan podcast of all things.
Yeah.
If you compare it to the
Pineal gland.
Yes.
Yeah.
It looks so fucking similar.
Well, the ancient Egyptians, they would, whenever people would die, they would dissect certain people to study them. And it does. It looks exactly like that. And I have no doubt that's what that means, because apparently that's like the seat of the soul.
Yes. And there was
Have you ever cracked open your third eye or had the experience of your third eye opening? Like the cracking, melting sensation in the middle of your forehead where like light changes and you experience every color like you are that color?
Kind of.
I know that's specific. It's
kind of. So, when I was a kid, I've had like very numerous accounts, and I mean very, very numerous accounts of paranormal activity in my home. So, it dates back to the day I was fucking born, actually.
Yeah.
So, I was barely a year old, and my dad was overseas, serving in Iraq at the time during 9/11, actually,
Yeah.
around that time.
My dad was in Iraq too.
And my mom and I were living on this military housing, but it's not necessarily like on the base. It's
Yeah.
kind of like on the opposite side of the base. It's just like these houses that have been, associated with the military for several
Renovated for
years.
military
Yes.
families. Yeah.
So my mom always had like a suspicion that it's like haunted,
Yeah.
and she would like set shit down and would like disappear. Shit would move. She'll hear like weird noises in the middle of the
Yeah.
night. So there was one night that she called my grandfather, freaking the fuck out, telling her about it. And he said, well, go to church this Sunday and talk to your priest and bring your priest here
Yeah.
to, bless it. Mind you, my grandfather's all the way in Oklahoma at this time. Me and my mom are in fucking San Diego.
San Diego's beautiful. Expensive as fuck.
So she, we go to church, but she doesn't bring the pastor back. She's like, ranting to the house, oh, I'm gonna bring the pastor back, yada yada yada. You're in for a rude awakening, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
When we come back, the entire house is fucking wrecked.
Yeah.
Like clothes look like they were put in a fucking shredder.
Yeah.
TV's broken.
Weird.
Like everything has been knocked over. Everything is just like destroyed. But there is no sign of a break-in.
No physical damage.
To the
something
actual
that
house.
came in. There's been a lot of reports of people that have strange
So-
experiences like that.
My mom actually made a TikTok about it.
Yo, mama be using TikTok. That's gangster.
She actually uses it mainly for witch talk.
Okay. Okay, she's witchy.
She's a Wiccan.
Okay.
Um,
I wouldn't consider myself pagan or Wiccan, but I'm definitely in the juju.
like I don't necessarily consider I was gonna pull up a video
Yeah.
of my mom talking about it. Yeah, put that on mute for a moment. There, no, I don't want playback. I want search.
You know what I wonder about, like, souls and demons and shit like that?
Yeah.
If we're in physical reality and we're in the third dimension, the fourth if you count time as a dimension, scientists are very, very sure that there's at least 11 dimensions, right? Even our DNA strands go up to 11 or 12 dimensions. That means we are unaware of at least a fourth of the dimensions out there, in here, however you explain that. Anything unknown by default normally is scary, right? When you start a new job you don't know anything about, you don't know anybody, it's scary, it's unknown. My thing is, so like a house full of shredded clothes, that's weird. That seems
Oh, yeah.
fucked up. But as a generality here, like what if the fact that a lot of us think we perceive demons and bad things is not because there's actually demons or bad energies out there in some other ethereal realm, but only because simply we don't understand things that's unknown and it's beyond us. Like imagine you're this being in the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, or 11th dimension, and somehow maybe you have phases that phase in and out of different realities or dimensions, right? And sometimes you in those higher dimensions, sometimes maybe you will affect physical reality at a lower dimension sometimes. And maybe we'll be like, wow, look at that demon or something. But it could be a being in a higher dimension that just phased into our reality temporarily and there was no ill intentions, right?
Yeah.
That's just a thought I have.
I actually have a side note on that.
But there also could be entities that are at a lower vibrational level of dimensionality as well. So, I mean, it's also just as likely that there could be demons as well.
Oh yeah.
I'm one of those people, I kind of like to look from both angles.
There's actually a side note theory that I have actually about that. I've actually been looking into like spirituality and shit like that with different vibrations, different realities of sorts, right? And there's a theory that I've heard that's been going around for a good couple of years now, that every form of ghost and deity that we come across, it's actually just a form of an alternate reality kind of phasing into ours.
Well, that kind of syncs up with what I was saying, so that makes sense.
Yeah. So let's say when we see an apparition of a ghost.
Yeah.
Let's say that it's not necessarily, a ghost in a sense. It could be, a different person from a different reality that kind of something tragic
Phases
happens.
into our reality, or
Yes.
they're stuck
Yes.
some way, shape, or form here a little bit.
So let's say there is a horrible atrocity that happens in a certain place, right?
Yeah.
And there's so much energy there. And there's so many atrocities that have happened there throughout time.
Like the Japanese suicide forest.
yes.
It attracts
Or,
negative energy.
like Alcatraz.
Yeah.
Different, like, major prisons.
I definitely feel like bad energy sticks to places. Like when you walk into a place and you just
Yes.
feel it in the walls.
Yes.
That's why I won't go into my fucking parents' house, because I'm like, these walls are fucking tainted, bro.
Oh, no, I've got a story for you about that, actually.
Yeah.
That's actually pretty crazy. So, this actually was just a couple of years ago in 2017.
Yeah.
2017 to 2018.
Yeah.
So, I'm living with my mom at the time.
Thank you.
Oh,
That's my word for life.
I understand. So, I'm living with my mom at the time in this trailer. I'm going to set it right here, so if you need it, you can grab it. I'm good.
You want to hit this shit?
I'm good right now.
Still lit?
I'm good right now.
Want to smoke
Appreciate
my
it, though.
weed?
If it was actual weed, I would.
I'm just kidding. I can't smoke weed. I'm old.
But during this time I'm living with my mom, there's this abandoned house that's in our backyard, basically. We're
Interesting.
living in a trailer
Yeah.
that is owned by my stepdad's family. Even though my mom and my stepdad are split, they still socialize and they still help each other out since they have kids together,
Yeah, sure.
right?
Humble.
So we're staying in this trailer that my stepdad's family owns. So this trailer is right in front of this abandoned house.
Yeah.
Out in the middle of nowhere, kind of like in the country over in Covington, Tennessee.
Oh,
And
Tennessee.
it's rumored that this house that's abandoned in our backyard, basically, it used to be an old slave home.
Okay.
And that a lot of fucked up shit happened. Well, me and my friends used to go out there and smoke weed in the house. Well, one night, it's actually not night, it's more like this, it's around 5 o'clock, kind of, bright outside.
Yeah.
We're sitting in this house, sparking up a big fat blunt.
Sparking up that Beezy.
Yep.
About to light that Jeffrey.
Yep. So we're smoking in this, abandoned house because my mom didn't want me smoking in the trailer due to my little brother being there.
Yeah.
So we go into this abandoned house and start smoking. And I noticed like a lot of off-putting shit, like pentagrams, drawn on the floors, ritualistic type deal.
You know pentagrams
shit.
are a symbol for protection?
No, I did not. I always thought it was like pentacles instead of pentagrams.
Pentagrams are a symbol for protection.
Huh.
That's why I wear them so often. But continue.
So I see like, a lot of like ritualistic shit.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I feel a little uneasy. So
Yeah.
I turn to, walk out the front door.
Yeah.
And I actually see an apparition of the Shadow Man.
Those things are freaky.
So I see it and I'm like, oh, fuck no. So I dart into the bedroom of this, abandoned house. And this bedroom has like a big hole in the wall due to a horse getting stuck in that wall at one point.
It was fucking the wall, heard.
No, so there was a storm and it got out of the stables and basically just ran and broke into the house.
It was not dick in the wall.
No.
Damn.
It would have been funny as shit though.
Damn.
It would have been funny as shit though. I'm actually gonna put that into the story for future reference now that you said it because it makes the story funnier.
Yeah, it was dick in the wall.
But there's this big hole in the wall, so I jump through this hole and book it to my house.
Yeah.
I have my buddy stay the night since it's just me and my mom, me and by myself in the house. I have my buddy stay the night. He's sleeping on the couch in the living room. I'm down the hallway around the corner in my bedroom, and I hear him scream about, I want to say about midnight.
Yeah.
I hear him scream, frantically freaking out, and I book it. Still, like I'm in my fucking boxers and in a muscle shirt.
Yeah.
I book it and I'm like, bro, you okay? It's like, dude, I was just fucking molested in my sleep. And I'm like, the fuck? What the fuck kind of drugs did you take today? He's like, no, I'm serious. I got molested in my sleep. He started stripping down to his boxers. He has fucking scratch marks all across his fucking body.
Yeah.
All in threes.
I definitely wonder if succubuses or succubuses.
Succubi.
I do wonder if that's a real thing, because whenever your like sexual energy is like harnessed and you don't use it,
Yeah.
you harness it, right? Kind of like you're charging your soul, I guess you would say, your being. I've had like sexual attacks in my sleep because I'd go like 6 weeks. I wouldn't do anything sexual, just as this like monk phase spiritual idea to try to like just harness that.
Oh,
And
yeah.
in the middle of my dream, 2 different times over the past over the course of a couple months, I had dreams where I felt like I was sexually attacked. So that makes sense.
But he gets like attacked and it's like gets fucking scratch marks and shit all over his body.
Yeah.
And he vouched to never show up at my house again.
Mm.
Now, on that note, I'm gonna show you this video that I meant to show you earlier about my mom talking about this shit with my mom and talking about the house and shit.
Yeah.
There's a story about that my mom was telling about us living in the house.
Okay.
So, as a follow-up to my previous video, probably about 6 or 7 back, I saw a monster in my kid's closet, and this really didn't sit very well with me, and I had recently left the church. I had really been kind of like looking into, I don't know, more alien stuff than ghost stuff, I guess. Like, that's kind of where I was at the time. And down the way at the mall was this sort of biker hippie Santa character. He owned an occult shop in the mall.
That's a genre
and,
merge.
He was covered in tats, tie-dye and leather, crystal jewelry, just like this big hippie guy. It was great. And so I explained it to him, and he tells me, "You have a boogeyman." And of course I think, well, this man's crazy. But my kids really trusted him, and my kids, they got something. So my kids are like, they think he's a really good guy. And he offers to come cleanse my house. And so we agree, we do this when the kids are at school, so they don't know about it. He brings in these tools, which are bigger than the tools that I knew about. I had tried to sage my house, and it was my first time, and I didn't look at directions. I just did stuff, and it did not work. ... My son's still scared of this monster in his closet. And so he's like, yes, in these areas of unused space, closets under beds, hallways, basements, staircases, where we don't put a lot of our energy, stagnant energy builds up, and that leaves portals for boogie men and other nefarious creatures. So I'm like, okay. And he comes and he brings the stuff and he's cleansing. And
That's
he tells
something to add
me
on
the
to
proper
this
way
in a
to do
sec.
it. And as we're going through, he's making comments, mentions my daughter's room is protected, which is funny because nobody had problems with her room. The boys' room, the bathroom, Bloody Mary was messing all that stuff up. And we go all through the house. Once we get towards the end, his stuff that he's burning is like sparking and spitting, and we're doing all the things. We get through, and he tells me, okay, I've got everything negative out. He said, you've got something over there that's not bad, so I can't make it leave, but everything that's bad's gone. Kids come home, life goes back to normal immediately. And so I'm like, yeah, okay, maybe there's something to that. Fast forward a few weeks, I'm laying on the couch, I've got my headphones in, I'm listening to the binaural beats sort of thing, and just really zen, chilling, having a good time. I look down the hallway because my feet are pointing towards the hallway, and out of my bedroom comes gliding this watery woman thing, just floating down the hall, turns, disappears into the wall. What? It wasn't really scary, but it really confused me and shocked me.
It was
and
unknown.
Concerned me.
So, what she was talking about, about whenever you don't put energy into things, it creates stagnant energy. I think there's something to that. You ever heard of the Japanese rice experiment?
Yeah. Yeah, I've actually looked into that myself.
Well,
You sent me a video about that, actually.
Yeah. Well, long story short, for anyone that's watching this and never heard of it, anyway, so this Japanese scientist took 3 rooms and he put a bowl of rice in every room. And for every day for a month, he'd go in the first room and say something nice to the first bowl of rice. You're beautiful, I love you. The second bowl of rice in the next room, he'd say, fuck you, I hate you, whatever negative thing he would say. And the third bowl of rice in the other room, he would ignore. So every day for a month straight, the first bowl of rice, the first room, positive. Second bowl of rice, second room, negative. The third bowl of rice, the third room, nothing, negligence. And what happened was the first bowl of rice at the end of the month was fermenting. It was still the rice was all still white. It was edible, and like I said, it was fermenting. So it was still, I guess you could say, somewhat positive. The second bowl of rice, where he was negative to, it was a little moldy, but it was partially edible, partially non-edible. And then the third bowl of rice that he ignored for the entire month was black, gross, just wet, sopping, just rotten. And that kind of feeds the idea that anything you put your energy into whether it's positive or negative, has the capability of doing something with that energy. Because even negative energy is still energy. It's still something, right? You could still take something negative and make it positive. But then whenever things are fucking ignored, it creates rot, negligence, just awful shit. And that makes sense to me. Like areas of your house or your apartment or where you live that you just ignore. It's almost like you're not changing that energy. Like the whole Japanese suicide forest, you don't see people in there trying to change the energy, playing like happy festivals and throwing like life fucking festivals. There's just people who keep dying in there.
You sent me that video.
Oh yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah, you were telling me that, and you were telling me about it.
I think there's something to that. Like where energy goes, energy flows. Where energy is not, you become rot.
Oh yeah.
Right. That's some deep shit. I wonder if that's some real shit.
It's some philosophical, type shit.
Yeah, definitely.
It's interesting to think about.
Well, so off topic, but still on to the topic we were talking about earlier, and the idea of like aliens and the possibility that we came from aliens or there are other beings on the planet. So there's always been this weird link between us and primates, but there's a missing link, right? If you put the primate DNA next to our DNA and you compare them, they're almost the exact same, but there's something different, right? And this is like something in the scientific community that has really split people, because there's like this new science where like, well, we're starting to understand this may be what it is, but then there's old scientists that are like, well, no, it's unknown, we just don't know, right? So new age scientists, they'll take, what they do is they put the primate DNA next to the human DNA, the modern man, right? And they're comparing their telomeres, right? And what your telomeres do is they decide how long you're going to live, how efficiently your blood cells are going to reproduce, replicate, and stay efficient, right? Your telomeres are these strands, and at the end of these strands, there's these two caps. And when those caps start eroding, your DNA starts breaking down, falling apart, and your ability to reproduce your cells starts fumbling, and that's when you start aging, right? So what they've done is, say that these three sticks right here, right? Say that is primate DNA, ancient primate DNA. And the difference between these three sticks in a line and modern man is that someone took a piece of the middle of the primate DNA out and then took the two sticks and fused these together. And that is exactly what our DNA looks like. It's like somebody took a piece of primate DNA out and then fused two pieces back together, which is not a naturally occurring process. I mean, even if you have like a nuke or a bomb or some type of radioactive thing happen where mutations happen, that's too intentional. You can't do that outside of a laboratory.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like for your telomeres to change them for something, it'd be different.
That's been brought up in Ancient Aliens several times.
Well, yeah. Also, they always talk about that shit.
Yeah.
It'd be different if your telomeres mutated, but they didn't mutate. Something was taken out. There's no evidence of it being there. And then two pieces were fused together, and that's an unnatural process that can't be done outside of a laboratory, and that's what we're doing right now with CRISPR.
Have you did you see that fucking
That fucking
there's this video.
That fucking
it's
video.
Like this it's like this ad for like an interview of this guy that's like apparently been to like the Bermuda Triangle and like been to Antarctica for like training purposes for something.
Yeah.
And he talks about like all these like weird events happening there as he's there.
Antarctica?
Yeah.
Are you talking about the guy that went on the Sean Ryan podcast on YouTube?
I think so, yeah.
The like firefighter guy?
I don't know. It's this you have to pay to watch it. Which
Okay.
I think is like
finish what you're saying.
But it's like this dude who has like his hood up, you can't see his face, it's all blacked out, his voice has changed. So like this guy is his identity apparently, right? And he's talking about, how he went to Antarctica and he saw like there's like a big hole in the middle of Antarctica, right?
Oh, the 40-mile hole.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that when you go down into that hole, that you enter an entirely new part of the world.
Oh, you're talking about the ancient Admiral Byrd event, the guy that was the first guy to fly from the South Pole all the way to the North Pole.
Yes. But it's a
The
different
journals,
guy.
the journal entries,
It's a
the
different guy,
journal
though.
entries that he talked about that his son came out with.
Mhm.
So this
But
guy
it's a
was
different guy
talking.
that's talking about it though.
So
It's
this
an-
other guy's, could it be his son though?
possibly.
Because his
But he
son
said
released
that he-
this General Captain Admiral Byrd's journal. It was his son. Continue.
But this dude said that he went down to the Bermuda Triangle for like training purposes of some sort, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that he had like a lot of like weird, like occurrences happen where he had stuff that he could not explain.
Yeah.
And he also said that he made a unauthorized trip to Antarctica himself with just a group of like small friends that he, did not name.
Yeah.
And he saw like an entire world. And
Yeah.
like this, what he calls it is the black hole of Antarctica. That's the
Yeah.
specific name that he given it.
Yeah.
But it's this black hole that is just like in the middle
Like a
of
vortex.
Antarctica. Yes.
Allegedly, there's one at the South Pole too.
And when he went in, he entered like an entirely new version of Earth, where everything is like a lot greener. All the lights and everything just seems more like intense. Everything seems brighter. It's a different, vibration.
Mhm.
And he, saw a lot of different like animals that,
Were extinct.
Yes.
Are you sure that's not the Captain Admiral Byrd story?
It's
'Cause that
it's
sounds
very
exactly like
similar.
it,
It's
yeah.
very similar, but it's a different.
Someone that might have just experienced the same thing.
Yes, and I think it's too coincidental.
Yeah.
I think that there are a lot of shit that we do not know about that we should take into accountability.
Well, allegedly, something that the scientists of the planet either don't investigate or don't talk about or aren't allowed to talk about, and I have no proof. I'm not a fucking scientist. But allegedly, something that's consistent throughout the universe is that every planet, A, has a hollow part of the planet,
Oh yeah.
and B, has a hole in the north and the south pole of that planet. And there's these giant 40-mile wide vortexes. And if you actually go to the topography of our planet and go through like what's that app called? Earth? Google Earth or something?
Yeah, Google Earth.
If you see it, it's blacked out. And if you can actually, if you look up the hollow Earth theory, or you look up the hole in Antarctica, or the hole at the North Pole or the South Pole, you'll get these pictures from people who were on the ISS that took pictures whenever they were going over these areas, where there's this humongous hole. And the journal entry of Captain Admiral Byrd, who was like an accredited, accomplished, I think he was a Navy pilot.
Yeah.
And he had an extremely similar story. He said whenever he got closer to the North Pole, he said what he was told and expected to see was just nothing but ice and frozen tundra. But the closer he got to the North Pole, it started getting warmer. There started to be vegetation, life, ancient, like prehistoric animals that were allegedly extinct, and they're just walking around normally in Antarctica. And he saw that giant hole. And allegedly, when he got closer to that hole, his plane started freaking out. His odometer and his whatever those are called that showed north, south, east. His compass for his plane started freaking out. He didn't know what was north or south or east or west. And allegedly, something piloted his plane into this giant 40-mile open hole, and he got to the base of this hole. And once he got down there, he said he reported there being like just this giant crystalline city of these like crystal buildings, and what he reported as like this inner sun, like an inner star. And then he got this, I guess you would say, like a telepathic message to get out of his plane. And he was reassured everything was okay. And he went down this long corridor in this building. And when he was walking down this corridor, there were no lights in this corridor, but somehow the walls were lighting up as he walked through them. And he got to some room. I can't remember this part, but I remember part of it where he said, something communicated with him and said, we've brought you here to tell you to deliver a message to the rest of the planet. And that's stop creating nukes. Stop making nukes. Whether that's a real story or not, I mean, this is Admiral Byrd's son that released this journal entry, and it was his son. Whether his son made up the journal and like bastardized the fuck out of his dad's name, or his dad actually wrote this shit down because he couldn't say it in public, and on his deathbed, it was like, hey, son, put this in the world. I mean, there's no way to know now. But that's definitely an interesting concept because the hollow earth theory is still pretty humongous today and very prevalent.
This is what I'm talking about. It's called Disclosure, and it's
With Stephen Greer?
yeah, it's this thing. This is what I was talking about.
Were you allowed to be there?
Well, no, that's not Stephen Greer.
But you have to. It's a 7-day free trial, and you have to pay to watch the rest of it.
Oh, send me that link so I can investigate it, if you don't
Because
mind.
I want to watch that too, but I don't have the money.
Is that
to pay
just
for
YouTube?
it. It's a whole app. It's like
Oh,
this
it's its own app like Gaia or something.
Unified TV. It's a website,
What?
and it's a whole community, and you have to pay for it and everything. But there's like
Of course you do.
but it's called Unified TV. It's called Unified.tv, and
Yeah.
it's spelled this way. If you ever want to look at it on your own time.
Yeah.
When there's an app for it as well for like exclusive content.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like a whole like idea. It's like a whole like interview about being in Antarctica and shit. And I want to take a look at it. Like I want to watch it.
There's this guy named Sean Ryan. He was a military guy. I can't remember if he was Army or military. I think he might have been a Navy SEAL or something. But he started a podcast. He's getting like really big fucking high-end people on his podcast because he's a military guy. So I mean, people are gonna naturally flock to his podcast. Be like,
Yeah.
this guy's not here to talk fucking conspiracy. This guy's truthful. I think he was a Navy SEAL. One of the people he had on there was this guy that I think he was like some type of firefighter or something, or he was contracted to go to Antarctica, and something about when he went to some base in Antarctica, he talked about we had this very, very advanced weaponry systems that's like under the ice, that which is crazy because he talks about this thing being like this superheating weapon. And there's been this conspiracy between a bunch of conspiracy people online for years now about why is there this giant hot area in Antarctica, right? For the longest time, we've been talking about how global warming's been melting the glaciers.
Oh yeah.
But then there's been all these other people that are looking at the topography of the globe and they're like, okay, why is there this giant heat signature in Antarctica? If we're making this happen, why is there this fucking giant blob of heat under the ice in Antarctica? And this guy's saying that it's an advanced weapon that the U.S. has. And how crazy would that be if the hood was pulled over all of our eyes for us to think it's all of our own faults that global warming is happening, and it's really just a smokescreen cover
I can believe it though.
to basically make us divert away from the idea that something else is melting these glaciers.
Okay, have you heard of this book? It's called The Beyond the Pale Horse.
Every time I'm at fucking Barnes & Noble, I'm called to buy that, and I've never bought it. The cover stands out, and I've always wanted to buy it, but I've never read it.
It's a conspiracy book that is.
Oh, it's all, yeah.
Okay, that
It talks about, I think, like the JFK assassination and everything.
I've actually read parts of it.
Okay.
When I was in like middle school, I want to say, one of my teachers brought it and let us read it.
Damn, OG teacher let you fucking
Oh
read
yeah,
some conspiracies.
I forget his
Came
name.
in clutch.
I forget his name, but he brought it in to our school and let the entire class like borrow the book individually and read a chapter.
Yeah,
The one that stood out to me the most
yeah,
was the JFK assassination.
yeah.
There was in the chapter they were talking about who really killed JFK,
Yeah.
right? And he said that
There's
Grassy
this-
Knoll was actually just a diversion. That the sniper that supposedly shot JFK, the way that he was shot, if he was shot from that angle, right? Supposedly, it's coming from across the street from an angle. And if he was shot the way that, supposedly
the
that they,
mainstream narrative, yeah.
yes, the brains would have been on the side of the car, not towards
Didn't
the
it end
back.
up being behind him?
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
I read about this thing where they talked about it was from the direction of the velocity of the bullet that hit his head was that he got shot right behind him, and almost like the vehicle behind him.
Actually, in the book, it talks about the security guard
Being
the one
yeah.
that fucking shot him. That it was the security guard. In this book, it talks about the security guard having a secret affair
Yeah.
with JFK's wife.
Huh.
And that he killed JFK
See, that's the
to
fucking-
supposedly, be with his wife.
That's the problem with why, like, the government won't just give us real fucking information, because there's all these extra fucking conspiracies, and
Oh,
who
yeah.
knows how many of them are fucking real.
Oh yeah,
Because
I think it's very
allegedly
interesting.
that security guard, there was